Welcome to Washington Today on C-SPAN Radio for Wednesday, November 6, 2024. Vice President Kamala Harris says she called former President Donald Trump to congratulate him on his victory Tuesday in the presidential election and to discuss the peaceful transfer of power. Vice President says we must accept the results of this election, and while I concede the election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. Donald Trump, in his early morning speech, said the voters had given him a powerful mandate and promised a golden age of America. The Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell celebrates his party winning control of the White House and the U.S. Senate, saying it's a hell of a good day. We'll hear from the Republican Senate winners who defeated Democratic incumbents in Ohio and Montana, and also Maryland U.S. Senator-elect Democrat Angela Alsobrooks, who makes history as Maryland's first black senator and one of only a few black female senators ever elected. In the U.S. House, a few dozen uncalled races means it's still to be decided whether Democrats or Republicans will have a majority in the next Congress. On Wall Street today, the day after the election, the Dow up 1,500 points, best day in 2 years. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomes the new Conservative Party leader, who immediately asked him why his government has not apologized for making derogatory comments about Donald Trump. Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris today conceded the 2024 presidential election to Republican former President Donald Trump. Vice President Harris spoke at Howard University in Washington, D.C., her alma mater, same place where she had planned her victory speech Tuesday night. USA Today writes, however, as voting results came in, it became clear early Wednesday morning Donald Trump would ultimately win a second term in the White House. Polls prior to Election Day showed Harris and Trump in a neck-and-neck race, but Trump prevailed in a decisive victory, winning battleground states, including North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, that for weeks had been considered a toss-up. That was from USA Today. Here's Vice President Harris conceding.
I am so proud of the race we ran, and the way we ran it, Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny, and anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up.
Vice President Kamala Harris today at Howard University. She also thanked her family and President Biden and her vice presidential running mate, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, who was there, along with his wife, Gwen, and her campaign staff. White House pool reporter writes, President Biden spoke by phone with Vice President Harris. He congratulated the vice president on her historic campaign. President Biden also spoke by phone with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. President Biden expressed his commitment to ensuring a smooth transition and emphasized the importance of working to bring the country together. He also invited President-elect Trump to meet with him in the White House. The staff will coordinate a specific date in the near future. Tomorrow, President Biden will address the nation to discuss the election results and the transition. That was from the White House pool reporter. And the Campaign 2024 page at cspan.org shows the Associated Press results of the Electoral College so far. And it's 295 votes for Donald Trump, 226 for Kamala Harris. There were 3 states called today that had not been called last night: Michigan and Alaska for Donald Trump, and Maine for Kamala Harris. There are 2 uncalled states so far, according to AP, Arizona and Nevada. Former Republican Congressman Liz Cheney, who endorsed Kamala Harris for president, writing on X, "Our nation's democratic system functioned last night, and we have a new president-elect. All Americans are bound, whether we like the outcome or not, to accept the results of our elections. We now have a special responsibility as citizens of the greatest nation on earth to do everything we can to support and defend our Constitution, preserve the rule of law, and ensure that our institutions hold over these coming 4 years. Citizens across this country, our courts, members of the press, and those serving in our federal, state, and local governments must now be the guardrails of democracy." That was from former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming. Donald Trump did not make a statement today. It was about 2:30 a.m. Eastern Wednesday morning that he spoke to his supporters at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida.
And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try. And it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. I saw that in the first term. When we became more and more successful, people started coming together. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President-elect Donald Trump, very early Wednesday morning, declaring victory in the presidential election over Vice President Kamala Harris at Mar-a-Lago, his home and private club in Florida. Former Republican President George W. Bush, who did not endorse a candidate in this year's presidential race, putting out a statement. I congratulate President Trump on his election as 47th President of the United States of America, as well as Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and their families. I also thank President Biden and Vice President Harris for their service to our country. The strong turnout in this election is a sign of the health of our republic and the strength of our democratic institutions. Laura and I are grateful to the election officials, poll workers, and volunteers who oversaw a free, fair, safe, and secure election. We join our fellow citizens in praying for the success of our new leaders at all levels of government. May God continue to bless our great country. That statement from former President George W. Bush. Back to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Wednesday morning, J.D. Vance, Vice President-elect, introduced the President-elect Donald Trump.
Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
J.D. Vance, Vice President-elect, currently Senator from Ohio, Republican, last night with the President-elect Donald Trump in Florida. In addition to the major party candidates, there were some third-party presidential candidates on the ballots in various states, and they got some votes. Jill Stein of the Green Party received nationwide 627,000 votes. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an independent who tried to pull his name off the ballots after he endorsed Donald Trump, got about 600,000 votes. Chase Oliver of the Libertarian Party, 563,000 votes, and others, 317,000 votes. New York Times reports that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who President-elect Donald J. Trump has suggested would have a big role in his second administration, wasted no time laying out potential public health measures he would oversee if given the chance. Mr. Kennedy, an environmental lawyer who has no medical or public health degrees and has promoted anti-vaccine conspiracies for years, told NBC News on Wednesday that he would not take away anybody's vaccines, but that he wanted Americans to be informed with the best information available so they can make individual assessments about whether that product is going to be good for them. That was from the New York Times. He was also asked in that NBC interview about fluorinated water.
You've also talked about fluoride in the U.S. water supply. You would seek to ban fluoride in the U.S. water supply?
Well, I would advise the water districts that are currently using it that there's a lot of new science out there. And in fact, there's a federal judge decision by an Obama-appointed judge on October 4th of this year in which he's to send EPA back to the drawing board and said, you've never done the safety studies on this. And by the way,
and so what does that look like without debating, without going back and forth on the science?
By the way,
and what it
it's
shows
lowering IQ in our children.
What would you on January 2025, we're 3 months away here, what would you actually do in your position inside of the White House?
I think fluoride is on its way out.
And how do you make that happen? This is your chance, that's what you're suggesting to me. How would you make that happen?
Listen to what I'm saying, okay, and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
I think fluoride is on the way out because of that court decision. I think the faster that it goes out, the better. I'm not going to compel anybody to take it out, but I'm going to advise the water districts about their legal liability, their legal obligation to their service zones and to their constituents, and I'm going to give them good information about the science, and I think that fluoride will disappear.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. interviewed on NBC today. On Wall Street, the Dow up 1,500 points. NASDAQ up 544. S&P up 146. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat, held a news conference today in Detroit, giving an update on vote counting in that battleground state. One reporter asked her to reflect on the election in her position as a member of the Democratic Party.
A Democrat who's run twice statewide.
Three times.
3 times, yeah. looking at the national results, as a Democrat, what lessons does the party have to take away from what happened yesterday?
Well, when I look in Michigan, what I see is a lot of women winning their races, and that was really encouraging. You know, certainly seeing Hillary Scholten, Kristen McDonald-Rivet, the two of the women running for the Michigan Supreme Court. And so I think we also saw a lot of women voting in this election that, you know, played out in various different ways. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations in the days ahead about next steps and what comes next. But I see Michigan voters at this point showing they're very engaged and enthusiastic, and perhaps have different opinions about the type of leadership they want to see. But we do see women continuing to win elections here in the state. And we also see, the issue of economics and who's going to save someone money being top of mind for many Michiganders of all backgrounds. We'll see. I mean, again, it's so early in the process, it's hard to say, but as I've personally reflected on things, I've and talked with folks, people are very concerned about their pocketbook and wanting to make sure that living in Michigan, raising a family in Michigan, that the costs de-escalate, not escalate. And I think you saw some voters of all financial backgrounds react to that. A lot of first-time voters as well. We saw show up and talk to people about how they were showing up because they wanted to see a tax break. They wanted to see cuts to what they saw as expenses that had increased over the last few years. So the economic policies and issues were top of mind for many citizens. We also talked to many who were concerned about the future of their democracy and showing up with their kids in many cases to show that participation in our democracy is critical for all of us. And that held true across political spectrum, which for me was great to see. And so my hope as well is that we'll continue to see high turnout elections in this state, that we've turned a corner over the last 3 years, and this will be a new tradition to vote early, to vote in large numbers, to bring your kids with you to vote, and to ensure protecting democracy remains a priority for all of us.
Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson at a news conference today in Detroit. Story from The Hill in Washington, D.C. Senate Republicans enjoyed a strong night in the battle for the majority, winning control of the upper chamber and ending the night with chances of running up the score. Republicans early Wednesday could be assured of having 52 seats. Their big victories came in Ohio, where Senator-elect Bernie Moreno, Republican, defeated Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat. In West Virginia, where Governor Jim Justice, Republican, will replace Senator Joe Manchin, Independent. And in Montana, where businessman and former Navy SEAL Tim Sheehy, Republican, top third-term Senator John Tester, Democrat. The party held serve in their own seats. Senators Ted Cruz, Republican, and Rick Scott, Republican, both won handily in Texas and Florida, respectively, despite Senate Democrats making a sizable investment in the final 6 weeks. Senator Deb Fischer, Republican, also defeated Independent Dan Osborne in Nebraska to nab a third term in office after a last-minute scare in the Cornhusker state. That was reporting from The Hill. A couple of Senate races still have not been called by Associated Press, now held by Democrats. Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania. Wisconsin was called today for Senator Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat, over Eric Hovde, Republican, 49.4% to 48.5%. And in Michigan, Lisa Slotkin, Democrat, beating Mike Rogers, Republican, 48.6% to 48.3%. The current Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, held a news conference in Washington about the new Senate Republican majority and also the presidential election won by Donald Trump.
This is certainly a happy day for the GOP, and let me start by congratulating President Trump. What he's accomplished has not been done, as all of you know, since Grover Cleveland, which was a while back. I also want to commend the Trump campaign for running a sharper operation this time, and I think Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles deserve a lot of credit. They ran a spectacular race. With regard to the Senate, you guys know how long I've been around. I had really hoped I'd be able to hand over to my successor the majority. I've been the majority leader, I've been the minority leader. Majority's a lot better. And I think, based on the fact that we haven't got all the results in, we certainly already know we're going to be in the majority. We're hopeful that that might actually grow some. And I want to give particular credit to Steve Daines. I had that job at the NRSC a few years back. I've never seen a better performance. He focused on getting quality candidates, making sure they actually got the nomination. And as I said, to some criticism, candidate quality is absolutely essential.
Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, at a news conference today on Capitol Hill. He is not running again for party leader after decades in that position. His replacement will be majority leader in the next Congress. He's currently the minority leader. The top candidates for the next Congress: John Barrasso of Wyoming, John Cornyn of Texas, and Rick Scott of Florida. Senator McConnell also asked today by a reporter about what the Senate agenda might look like under Republican control.
Senate Republicans will have 54, 55, maybe even 56 seats before this is done. You have been an advocate of maintaining the filibuster. The former president, now the president-elect.
You know, I'm glad you raised that.
And what will you do outside of the leadership now to continue to advocate on that if there are forces here who try to get rid of it?
I'm really glad you raised that. I should have covered that before. I think one of the most gratifying results of the Senate becoming Republican, the filibuster will stand. There won't be any new states admitted that give a partisan advantage to the other side. And we'll quit beating up the Supreme Court every time we don't like a decision they make. So I think this shifting to a Republican Senate majority helps control the guardrails to keep people who want to change the rules in order to achieve something they think is worthwhile is not successful. And so I think the filibuster is very secure.
Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, at a news conference today in the U.S. Capitol building. He is stepping down as party leader for the next Congress, but he's staying in office, and his term ends in 2 years. The current Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, will be losing that title as the Democrats move into the minority party in the Senate. Senator Schumer was name-checked late Tuesday night when Ohio Republican Senate candidate Bernie Moreno celebrated victory in Wakefield, Ohio, over the incumbent senator, Democrat Sherrod Brown.
Today starts a new wave. You know, we talked about wanting a red wave. I think what we have tonight is a red, white, and blue wave in this country. Because what we need in the United States of America is leaders in Washington, D.C. that actually put the interests of American citizens above all else. We're tired of being treated like second-class citizens in our own country. We're tired of leaders that think we're garbage, and we're tired of being treated like garbage. You know, my opponent talked a lot about helping the working man, and I will agree with him on the need to help working Americans. But the difference is talk without action is nothing. So what we're gonna do, thanks to now having a Republican majority, by the way, how about that, in the United States Senate, and Chuck Schumer, if you're watching, thanks for the help in the primary, but you're fired, buddy. This is a new dawn of Republican leadership. With President Trump and J.D. Vance in the White House, we are going to advance an agenda that is an American agenda. An agenda that says we are pro-immigration, but not pro-invasion. We're going to make certain that the people who come to this country are invited here like I was, like my family was, on our terms. We're going to make this country an energy-dominant nation so that my kids do not grow up in a country where we ever rely on a foreign nation for energy ever again. And we have that energy right here in Ohio. That means coal, that means natural gas, it means oil, and it means nuclear. And in terms of EV mandates, they need to be gone first thing in January.
Ohio U.S. Senator-elect Bernie Moreno, Republican in Wakefield Tuesday night. He defeated Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown 50.2% to 46.4% of the vote. Senator Brown conceded the election at an event in Columbus.
We may be tempted to say hope was not enough. We might be tempted to second-guess ourselves and question whether we worked hard enough or long enough. That is not our story tonight. We believe that all work has dignity. We always will. We believe in the power of people over corporate special interests. We always will. We believe if you love this country, you fight for the people who make it work. We always will. This is a disappointment, but is not a failure. It will never be wrong. It will never be wrong to fight for organized labor. It will never be wrong to fight for the freedom of women to make their health care decisions. It surely will never be wrong. It surely will never be wrong to fight for civil rights and human rights. Tonight I'm sad, but I'm never giving up, and neither is Connie.
No way.
In the light of day, I know most of you are never giving up either.
Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio, conceding Tuesday night in Columbus. He was running for a fourth six-year term. So was Senator Jon Tester, Democrat from Montana, who lost to Republican Tim Sheehy, who spoke to his supporters in Bozeman.
Since I was 18 years old, I've served this country. I sided on the dotted line, like many of you here did, and I was proud to serve my country overseas, came home, served my country fighting fires. And to those who did not vote for me, I will also serve you. Just like I did in the military, I took an oath to serve all Americans, and I'll take an oath here to serve all Montanans. So I will earn your vote in the future. If you didn't vote for me, I will work to earn your support in future elections, because we have to save this country, and to save it, we got to come together and figure out how to heal this country. We have to disagree better, and we got to actually move forward and stop arguing about everything. We got to make some progress. To our miners, to our loggers, to our truck drivers, our diesel mechanics, our electricians, our plumbers, our carpenters, to the people who work with your hands, our ranchers and farmers who make this economy run. You are the people that we have to make this economy work for again. We've got to make sure that the folks who go to work every day, work with their hands, pay for their own education, and put food on the table for their families, we've got to make sure this economy works for them again. That's going to be our top priority. Bring inflation down, get real wages back up, and make sure that if you work with your hands, you can make a good living in this country and provide for your family.
Montana U.S. Senator-elect Tim Sheehy, Republican, Tuesday night in Bozeman. He beat the incumbent Democratic Senator Jon Tester 53.4% to 44.8% of the vote. Senator Tester conceded in Great Falls.
I'm very blessed. I've had a great 18 years in the United States Senate. I've met some incredible people along the way and had the opportunity to do some great things to help move this state forward and move the country forward. I wish Senator-elect Sheehy all the best, because quite frankly, it's really important that we have good leadership in Washington, D.C. That's about all I have to say for today, and maybe for a long time, other than the fact that I'm also blessed because I've got a great family. I'm going to be able to go back to the farm and maybe enlarge it a little bit and really focus on production agriculture and helping my son work on a few cars. Hopefully not too hard. You still got to buck up and do it. But in the end, I just want to say, whether it's my time in the state legislature for 8 really good years, working with some great people there, or the last 18 years working in Washington, D.C. and representing the people of this great state, this truly has been a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I just want to say thank you to everybody out there from the state of Montana that may be watching this morning. And tally-ho, move it on, and God bless you all.
Senator John Tester, Democrat from Montana, in Great Falls Tuesday night after losing to U.S. Senator-elect Tim Sheehy, Republican. More U.S. Senate results when Washington Today continues in a moment.
Visit cspan.org/results for comprehensive coverage of the 2024 campaign results. Get the final Electoral College breakdown in the presidential race and see which states each candidate carried. Dive into our interactive maps to explore the outcomes in Senate, House, and governor's races and monitor the final balance of power in Congress. Plus, watch acceptance and concession speeches on demand, anytime. Stay up to date with C-SPAN, your unfiltered view of politics, at cspan.org/results.
Welcome back to Washington Today, available as a podcast on the C-SPAN Now mobile app. That's free, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Story from The Hill. Senators-elect Lisa Blunt Rochester, Democrat of Delaware, and Angela Alsobrooks, Democrat of Maryland, will become the first two black women to serve together in the Senate. Neither Delaware nor Maryland have ever had a black senator, and Delaware has never been represented by a woman in the upper chamber. Blunt Rochester and Alsobrooks became only the fourth and fifth black women to serve in the Senate, and only the third and fourth ever elected. That was from The Hill. Senator-elect Alsobrooks spoke at her victory party Tuesday night in College Park, Maryland.
Now, it's remarkable to think that in 2 years, America will celebrate its 250th birthday. And in all those years, there have been more than 2,000 people who have served in the United States Senate, and only 3 have looked like me. And so I want to salute all of those who came before me, who made it possible for me to stand on this stage tonight, whose sacrifices and stories I will continue to carry with me. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every Marylander. To serve this state, my hometown, is the honor of a lifetime. And there are few places, be clear, like Maryland. Marylanders are absolutely amazing people. Absolutely amazing people. And I know how amazing they are because I've had the great honor of traveling all across this state, meeting Marylanders where they live, where they love, where they worship, where they build businesses, where they educate their children, and where they dream of a better day. And I stand here tonight for all those people who dream of a better day. We stand tonight united as one Maryland. And to each and every Marylander, I say this: I will make your care my concern, your hope my focus, and your dreams my work in the days and years to come. And to the people who did not vote in this election, I want you to know that I see you too, and that I will never stop working to prove that public service, that the work we do can and must change the lives of people for the better.
Maryland U.S. Senator-elect Angela Alsobrooks, a Democrat, Tuesday night in College Park, Maryland. She defeated former Republican Governor Larry Hogan 52.2% to 45.3%. Larry Hogan conceded at his watch party in Annapolis.
I just spoke with County Executive Alsobrooks, and I congratulated her on a hard-fought victory. And in our nation's history, only 3 African-American women have ever served in the United States Senate. Tonight, regardless of who you voted for, we can all take pride in the election of the first black woman to represent Maryland in the United States Senate. As governor, I had the privilege of working closely with Angela. She's a dedicated public servant, and all of us should wish her much success. And Yumi and I offer our best wishes and our prayers to Angela and her family. But now is the time for us to come together and to move forward as one state and one nation, to respect the will of the voters and the outcome of the democratic process. And I want to thank every single one of you in this room tonight. Give yourselves all a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to say thanks to my wife, Yumi, who inspired me to get into this race, and my entire family. Give them a big round of applause. I stepped up to run because I was concerned about what kind of a future we would be leaving for all of our kids and grandkids. And for me, the greatest title wasn't governor or senator, it's dad and pop-pop.
Larry Hogan Tuesday night in Annapolis after losing to Angela Alsobrooks. Associated Press writes House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says the House remains very much in play as Democrats hold out hope for avoiding a sweep in Tuesday's election. He says the path to the majority now runs through close pickup opportunities in Arizona, Oregon, Iowa, and California. The party that will hold the majority in the House of Representatives in January 2025 has yet to be determined. We must count every vote, Jeffrey said. And the current House Speaker, Mike Johnson, Republican, writing on X, House Republicans have been successful in securing critical flips in swing states, including Pennsylvania and Michigan, while our battle-tested incumbents have secured re-election from coast to coast. The latest data and trends indicate that when all the votes are tabulated, Republicans will have held our majority, even though we faced a map with 18 Biden-won seats. Associated Press at cspan.org, our campaign page, has the current totals of the U.S. House. Republicans, 201 seats. Democrats, 184 seats, with 50 still to be called. 218 seats needed for a majority. In London, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, congratulated Donald Trump during Prime Minister's Question Time. Keir Starmer also welcomed the newly elected British Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by congratulating President-elect Trump on his historic election victory. As the closest of allies, the UK and US will continue to work together to protect our shared values of freedom and democracy. And having had dinner with President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago, I look forward to working with him in the years to come. May I also welcome the Leader of the Opposition to her place, my fourth Tory leader in 4.5 years. But I do look forward to working with her in the interests of the British public.
The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer at the start of Prime Minister's Question Time in the House of Commons in London. A few minutes later, after some other members of Parliament asked him questions, the new Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, had the chance to ask her first question to the Prime Minister.
I come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the Prime Minister for his almost warm welcome? And can I also echo the comments that he has made? It is an immense privilege and the honour of my life to lead the Conservative Party. And I look forward to joining him at the Cenotaph this Remembrance Sunday. As leader of His Majesty's opposition, I will be taking a different approach to the last opposition by being a constructive opposition. And so I would like to start by congratulating President-elect Trump on his impressive victory this morning. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September. Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order. And if he did not apologise, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
Mr. Speaker, there will be many issues on which the Leader of the Opposition and I disagree, but there will be issues that do unite this House on national security and Ukraine, and I do look forward to working closely with her on that, and I will provide her with the information that she needs to discharge her duties. That's the right thing for the country, and it's far more important than party politics. And the Foreign Secretary and I did meet President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago for dinner for about a couple of hours, and we discussed a number of issues of global significance. It was a very constructive exercise.
Questions from the British Conservative Party leader, the new leader, Kemi Badenoch. First Prime Minister's Question Time to the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, of the Labour Party in the House of Commons in London. Some other international reaction to the election of Donald Trump as the U.S. president. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau writing on X, the friendship between Canada and the U.S. is the envy of the world. I know President Trump and I will work together to create more opportunity, prosperity, and security for both of our nations. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said there is news that President Trump won, but in any case, we are going to wait for some states to finish counting and to be able to give the official statement. Trump's presidency has already been declared, but it's prudent to wait. Fox News writes Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was among the first Wednesday to call President-elect Donald Trump. The World Leaders Office said the conversation was warm and cordial. The Prime Minister congratulated Trump on his victory, and the two agreed to work together for Israel's security, read a statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office. The two also discussed the Iranian threat. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky posting on X, we look forward to an era of a strong United States of America under President Trump's decisive leadership. We rely on continued strong bipartisan support for Ukraine in the United States. And the Moscow Times writes Russian President Vladimir Putin does not plan to offer his congratulations to Donald Trump. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Wednesday, as the former U.S. president was on the cusp of securing a second term in the Oval Office. Peskov added, let's not forget that we're talking about an unfriendly country that's both directly and indirectly involved in a war against our nation. And one more country, the Chinese Foreign Ministry, with a statement, we respect the choice of the American people, and China will continue to view and handle our bilateral relations under the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. And finally, on Washington Today, this story from Punchbowl News. While all eyes were on the election, two House Freedom Caucus members went rogue during Tuesday's pro forma session to try to kill a widely backed Social Security bill and ambush their leadership again. In a parliamentary maneuver, Congressman Bob Good, Republican of Virginia, asked unanimous consent to lay the Social Security Fairness Act on the table. Congressman Andy Harris, Republican of Maryland, who was presiding, did not object. House Republican leadership had no idea the Freedom Caucus members would do this. It violates protocol for pro forma sessions. The bill they tabled has 330 co-sponsors and got enough discharge petition signatures to force a floor vote. Freedom Caucus members have been grumbling about the successful effort. Legislation would repeal limits on the Social Security benefits that public workers or their spouses can qualify for if they also have government pensions. GOP leadership is weighing what to do next. That was from Punchbowl News. This is what it sounded like Tuesday early evening. You could also hear the parliamentarian in the background questioning the maneuver.
Does the gentleman from Virginia seek recognition?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to lay H.R. 82 on the table.
The chair will not entertain the gentleman's request. The chair cannot entertain the gentleman's request.
Why is that?
Because you can't.
At this point in the House video feed, the audio was turned off, and Congressman Andy Harris, presiding, continues his conversation with the parliamentarian. Number of minutes later, Congressman Bob Good renews his request, and it is approved.
Without objection, so ordered. Pursuant to Section 3Z of House Resolution 5, the House stands adjourned until 9:30 a.m. on Friday, November 8th, 2024.
That didn't even do anything.
The Freedom Caucus writes a roll call article, opposes this measure's $196 billion cost over a decade. Thanks for listening to Washington Today. Subscribe to C-SPAN's free evening newsletter word for word and get the stories making headlines in Washington sent to your inbox every day. Sign up at cspan.org/connect. Have a good night.